A maid solved a math problem that even a millionaire's son couldn't get right. In the heart of the opulent estate, a hush fell over the massive marble foyer. The mansion, dripping with gold and festooned with crystal chandeliers, was a palace of wealth. Yet, amidst this excessive luxury, something utterly strange was about to unfold. A bright young maid named Lila, with a sharp mind hidden behind her unassuming uniform, stood before a group of privileged boys, each one scratching their heads, jaws drooping in disbelief. The air was thick with anticipation, nearly electric. Then, with unexpected fervor, Lila scribbled the problem on the grand blackboard, her brow furrowing at the complexity while the millionaire's son, always boasting of his intelligence, sneered. Lila's heart raced. The problem was layered with numbers that spiraled like a dizzying roller coaster. But Lila's fingers danced across the chalk, breathing life into symbols that held silent power. As she deftly worked through each equation, whispers spread through the room, saturating the charged air with awe. She could feel the eyes on her, incredulous, mocking, but most of all, curious. The boys leaned in, shoulders practically touching, their previous bravado crumbling. Lila, with a tight chest and burning determination, was about to turn their world upside down. Can she really solve it? One boy trembled incredulously. No way, she's just a maid. Another scoffed, his voice shaky. The challenge hung between them like a storm cloud, ready to burst. What if she succeeded? The stakes couldn't be higher. The whispers escalated into murmurs of disbelief and the collective anxiety thickened. What started as playful mockery was morphing into something entirely different, something resembling fear. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As Lila wrote the final number, a deafening silence swept over the room. Time seemed to freeze. The few seconds stretched like lifetimes. Those boys, once so full of arrogant laughter, now wore expressions of utter shock. Could she actually be right? The air felt thick, and her heart pounded loudly in her ears. She caught the glance of the millionaire's son, his eyes wide with a mix of horror and disbelief, like someone who had just seen a ghost. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the back of the room, sending everyone jumping back. A heavy book had fallen from the shelf. The moment shattered. Lila turned abruptly, her heart racing not just from the tension of the moment, but from the lingering question in the air: had she really done it? All eyes locked on her, filled with a newfound respect and an undercurrent of dread. What if solving this problem was only the beginning? And as she stood there, chalk dust swirling around her like smoke from a fire, Lila wondered what doors this victory might open or close. Lila's heart raced, a storm brewing in her chest. The eyes of the boys bore down on her like 1,000 sharpened daggers, each glinting with unease and uncertainty. The millionaire's son shifted, his smug smile evaporating, replaced with a mask of disbelief. Those who had once laughed at her were now the sheep, staring back at their fallen shepherd. What did you just solve? The millionaire's son finally breathed, his confident facade cracking like glass. The whispers resumed, a chaotic symphony of astonishment, disbelief, and dawning recognition that they were witnessing something extraordinary. I believe I found the answer to the equation, Lila replied, the tremor in her voice barely masked by the swirling adrenaline. X equals 23. The boys erupted, their reactions a cocktail of confusion and awe. The whispers grew louder, forming a cacophony that was impossible to ignore. Some jeered, trying to claim she had gotten lucky, while others cast doubtful glances, uncertainty weaving factional lines among the group. "Let us see that in action," one boy challenged, crossing his arms defiantly. "You think you can just waltz in here and show us up?" Prove it. With her heart pounding firmly against her ribcage, Lila nodded. She knew that this wasn't just about numbers anymore. It was about supremacy, proving herself in a place where she had always been viewed as invisible. As she moved to the board, the chalk felt heavier in her hand, but before she could even begin to navigate the next step, the front doors of the mansion burst open, an icy wind racing through the foyer, extinguishing the flickering lamplight. The sudden darkness threw everyone into chaos. Shadows danced on the walls, disorienting the boys further. They looked around, wide-eyed and wary. Who dares to disturb this? Someone shouted from the entrance, the voice gruff and commanding. It was Mr. Anderson, the owner of the estate, a figure cloaked in authority, his features obscured in shadow. The tension thickened, suffocating in its intensity. Lila felt the back of her neck prickle. They were already on edge, and now this. She could see a flicker of amusement in the Millionaire's son's eyes as they all turned their attention to the newcomer, their focus shifting yet again. I heard noise, arguing perhaps. Mr. Anderson stepped further inside, the air trembling around him. Let us see what this is all about. In that moment, Lila wondered if solving the math problem was merely a prelude. What if others had taken notice? What if this public display of her talent wasn't just about her standing against the boys but about igniting something more dangerous? What do you want with us? The millionaire's son hissed. His bravado seeped away, leaving vulnerability in its stead. I want to know who dares to ruin our good name, Mr. Anderson snapped, his eyes scanning the room like a hawk searching for prey. Lila felt her stomach churn. Just a game, sir. One boy exclaimed, panic marking his tone. Is it? Mr. Anderson's gaze landed squarely on Lila. Or is it something more? What are you hiding, Maid? Her breath caught in her throat. What had she uncovered? What tidal wave had she summoned simply by wielding numbers? The tension swirled, heavy and foreboding. Lila risked a glance at the blackboard. Had she opened a door to a world she wasn't ready to face? The room buzzed with an energy that was palpable, mixing fear with something deeper, something darkly enigmatic, and before she could formulate a response, the power flickered. The lights blinked out completely, plunging the room into darkness. A chorus of gasps echoed through the chamber. In an instant, everything changed. What is happening? The millionaire's son shouted, panic lacing his words. Lila felt the soft crunch of chalk beneath her foot. Was it a warning or a signal? All hope of safety had fled, and as shadows shifted, lurking just out of sight, she understood the real challenge had just begun. What unseen forces threatened to emerge, waiting for a moment of weakness? In that dark silence, Lila's mind raced. She had to protect herself, her knowledge, and what she might now know about this powerful world she unwittingly stepped into. But could she navigate these treacherous waters ahead? The silence was deafening. Lila's heart pounded so loudly, she wondered if everyone could hear it. She held her breath as shadows loomed, distorting the familiar space into something sinister. Voices that had been boisterous and taunting turned into whispers, a low murmur threading through the rich fabric of uncertainty. Are you scared, Lila? Came a voice, dripping with condescension. It was the millionaire's son, but it traveled from somewhere deep in the darkness, making it all the more unsettling. His tone now struck a note somewhere between playful and sinister. Shut up! Another boy hissed angrily. It felt like the calm before a storm, everyone waiting for someone to take charge, to break the spell of fear hung thick in the air. Lila didn't answer. Instead, she focused on the shadows, straining to catch any movement amid the pitch-black void. Every minute felt like an eternity. A panic surged in her chest, burning hot and fierce. This was no longer a simple game of intellect, the stakes had escalated rapidly, morphing into something impossibly scarier. Why can't anyone turn the lights back on? A boy said, his voice shaking as he fumbled for something, maybe a phone or a means to illuminate the room. Mr. Anderson laughed chillingly, a sound that sent shivers crawling down Lila's spine. Just a small issue with the grid, I assure you. Nothing to worry about. That's not reassuring at all, Lila muttered under her breath. She took a step back as the unease spread through her like ice water. Suddenly, a flicker of light erupted from a flash on someone's phone. It cast an eerie glow, illuminating the faces of the boys, twisted with confusion and fear. She spotted the Millionaire's son in the front, his bravado waning under the glares of his peers. "Look!" someone yelled, pointing into the corner of the room. A shadow, darker than the darkness itself, seemed to move, writhing against the wall. It was fleeting, but vivid enough to draw gasps from everyone present. What was that? Lila's voice trembled, and she felt her courage wane. Probably just a trick of the light, the Millionaire's son muttered, but it was clear the terror gnawed at his insides as well. Lila moved closer, clutching the remnants of her chalk tightly, as if it could ward off whatever that shadow had been. "We need to leave. Now." "Are you kidding?" A boy scoffed, bravado returning quickly. "And miss out on all the fun?" "Fun?" Lila snapped. "This isn't fun. This is enough." Mr. Anderson's voice boomed, echoing across the darkness. "If you want to unravel your fear, it would do you well to think about what you might have stumbled upon." "What do you mean?" One boy quivered, eyes darting nervously. The hint of menace in Mr. Anderson's words hung in the air heavy and taut. "You've introduced a variable, haven't you? A variable that could complicate things for us all." Lila felt cold sweat trickle down her spine. Was he talking about her? About the equation she solved? Before she could respond, the lights flickered back to life with a violent blink, revealing the faces of the boys twisted in fright, and a sudden dread settled over the room. Lila glimpsed figures standing behind Mr. Anderson, more of them, shrouded in darkness but undeniably present. "Why are you doing this?" she shouted, feeling the need to assert herself against the growing despair. But deep inside, fear twisted like vines around her senses. "Because," Mr. Anderson said evenly, stepping into the light, unmistakable resolve in his eyes, "your little solution may have uncovered something greater, Lila. And now, I need to know just what you think you're capable of." A door slammed somewhere in the mansion, sealing their fates, and Lila felt the grip of dread tighten like a noose around her throat. What secret was waiting to reveal itself? She could feel it thrumming in the air, electric and alive. In the turmoil, a question arose in her mind, one that gnawed at her even as she tried to ignore it. What had she truly stumbled upon, and how far would those shadows reach? The thick tension lingered in the air, heavy and suffocating. Lila's mind raced, her heart now a furious drumbeat in her chest. Whispers surrounded her, a cacophony of frightened voices muddling together. What does he mean? What is he planning? Every question echoed like a siren in her ears. Damar. Anderson's gaze felt like a spotlight, burning into her skin. She tried to swallow, but her throat was dry, her mind racing with possibilities. What did I unlock? She thought, the weight of her rewinded memories overwhelming her. Did you hear that door? Someone whispered, eyes darting around as though the walls might spring to life. Lila wished she could fade into the background, escape this nightmare. Suddenly, shadows shifted once more, dancing along the thick tapestry draped over the walls. Was she imagining it? Or was something else alive among them? Enough of this, let us see what you found, shall we? Mr. Anderson's voice dripped with a mix of curiosity and malice. It made Lila's stomach churn. Lila stepped forward, her feet feeling heavy. If there is something to know, just say it. We don't have time for games. The boldness of her words surprised her, but deep down she felt the stirrings of defiance. You think you have the right to dictate this space? The Millionaire's son scoffed, but his bravado was fading, and the uncertainty in his voice was alarming. Games? Anderson echoed, an eerie grin creeping across his face. This is not a game, Lila. This is an opportunity. His eyes flickered between her and the shadows lurking behind him, and she could see the breath hitching in everyone else's throats. A silence dropped, thick and unnerving, as they all watched the creeping shadows. A figure stepped out of the inky blackness, a boy with wild hair and wide, terrified eyes. "We need to leave. Now!" he shouted, breaking the spell of silence. Lila felt a shiver run down her spine. "What's out there?" she asked, gripping her chalk tighter as if it were a weapon. The last thing she wanted was to find out what lay behind her. "Something we didn't expect," the boy said, trembling as he backed against the wall. "It's watching." Anderson laughed softly, an unsettling sound that clashed with the chaos in the room. "Oh, don't you see? You've all danced too close to the fire, and you will have to face what it brings." "What does that even mean?" someone yelled, but Lila had already made a connection. A thought, a chilling realization, this was a test. Test. The Millionaire's son scoffed again, though he fidgeted nervously. "We're not in control anymore," Lila interrupted, her voice steady. "He's right. We're here for a reason, and I think it's more deadly than any of us imagined." Just then, the air around them shifted, heavy and charged. With every breath, the shadows thickened, pressing in on them. What if this opportunity is about uncovering? Lila hesitated, the truth spiraling around inside her head. What if we are the ones being tested? The atmosphere darkened, amplifying panic in every glance exchanged. One boy's eyes widened, realization dawning in horror. "We didn't sign up for this," he cried, his voice breaking the stillness once more. Nervous glances darted as fear danced in their pupils. "Maybe we should stick together," Lila urged, desperation creeping into her tone. But she didn't feel like she was helping. Anderson tilted his head, intrigue lighting up his face. "Yes, let us see what you can unravel together or not. The shadows decide your fate now." Lila felt her pulse quicken, the walls closing in. She had stumbled into an abyss larger than herself, but what lurked beneath the floorboards of the mansion? With a sudden crash, another door swung open behind her, revealing an even darker passage. "Let us find out," a voice whispered from the shadows. Lila's heart seized. The choice loomed ahead, a decision that could seal their fate forever. Would they follow the voice into the unknown, or try to find a way out? The dread tightened around her, and an icy chill whispered through the air. What awaited them on the other side? The question bled into Lila's mind, suffocating any hope, but deep inside, she knew the next step could change everything. How much were they willing to risk to uncover the truth? The moment hung in the air like a fragile thread, threatening to snap under the weight of their fear. Lila stood frozen, her heart pounding with the uncertainty of their next move. The darkness beckoned her, as if the shadows had sprouted tendrils, reaching out to ensnare them. "We can't just stand here," the boy with wild hair shouted, his panic flaring up like a wild flame. "We have to go. And risk whatever is waiting for us in the dark." "No thanks," Lila shot back, her mind racing, grappling with every option. "Is there any other choice?" The Millionaire's son whispered, his bravado crumbling. The weight of the mansion felt like a crushing weight on his shoulders, an oppressive reminder that this was no longer just a game. As another shudder took the room, Lila felt a surge of resolve. "We can't let fear decide for us. We need to know. Whatever's out there could give us answers, or it could destroy us." She turned, looking from person to person. "We can't let it divide us." One by one, their eyes flickered from doubt to determination, but fear still clutched at their throats. Her own breaths felt shallow, but she pressed on. "Let us stick together. Whatever we face, we do it as one." With a hesitant nod from the boy, they moved toward the open door, the shadows swelling and boiling like thick ink. Every instinct screamed for them to turn back, but Lila forced one foot in front of the other, not bothering to glance back at the group. "On three," she whispered, her voice steadying her resolve. 1, 2, 3. They stepped into the darkness, a wave of chilling air engulfing them like a thick blanket. The boy led the way, his silhouette barely visible. They stumbled forward, the ground shifting beneath them as though it were alive. The whispers rose again, sharper now, echoing around them like the teasing laughter of unseen creatures. "What is this place?" Someone finally broke the silence, breath hitching in their throat. "I don't know," Lila replied, her own voice wavering. "But we're not alone." Suddenly, the shadows shifted rapidly, and shapes materialized among them, a swirl of limbs, faces that flickered in and out of sight. Panic rushed through her like venom. "Anderson!" Lila shouted over the chaos, desperate to find the man who had led them into this nightmare. "What have you done?" "He wanted you all here," the wild-haired boy breathed, shivering under the weight of realization. This whole thing was a trap. Before Lila could respond, the air erupted with a cacophony of voices, each echoing accusations, fears, and questions. Memories rushed through her mind, flaring up in a whirlwind of confusion. Had she played a part in this? Just what had she unlocked? "Focus. We can't lose it now." The Millionaire's son shouted, gripping her arm, urgency flooding his tone. "Mistakes, sins, tests," one of the shadows slurred lazily. Its voice sent chills crawling up Lila's spine. "You wished to uncover the truth. And now it's time." "Who are you?" Lila asked, her voice steadier now, though it quaked at the edges. "Asking the right questions might determine if you live, or die," the shadow replied, amusement threading its voice. Each member of the group felt the shift, as if the ground beneath them suddenly opened into a dark abyss. The walls seemed to breathe, closing in no longer material but a living, sentient force. Panic bubbled, and whispers crescendoed into a pleading scream. "Run!" The wild-haired boy yelled as he blinked into focus, a glimpse of resolve amidst the encroaching shadows. But they were already moving, adrenaline kicking in as they sprinted deeper into the maw of darkness. The shadows surged behind them, a slippery presence almost tasting their fear. Lila's heart raced, split between terror and resolve. As they navigated through the treacherous unknown, she felt a flicker of something deeper inside her, a sense that whatever lay ahead was not only about survival but understanding their intertwined fates. Just ahead, a faint glimmer glowed, illuminating their path like a beacon. But with it came a question whispered from the shadows that lingered. "Behind. Are you ready to confront your darkest truths?" Lila's breath caught in her throat. What lay ahead wasn't just darkness, it was the key to everything. But were they prepared to face it? As they surged toward the light, Lila felt dread twist into excitement. Their choices might unleash something far more terrifying than they had ever known. What awaited them on the other side? And could they handle the truth when it found them? The glow grew brighter, and the air thickened with anticipation. Lila felt her skin prickle, something monumental waited in the light just ahead. Every step carried the weight of uncertainty, but she couldn't turn back now. They couldn't afford that. "Stay close," she called out, her heart hammering as they pushed through the darkness. She could hear the others breathing hard, their fright palpable, mingling with her own. The shrill whispers from behind seemed to taunt them, each syllable curling into their ears, growing louder as they moved forward. "Lila. What if we can't handle whatever lies ahead?" The Millionaire's son gasped, his face soaking with sweat. "We have to face it together," she shouted back, though doubt flickered in her mind like a broken light. As they moved toward the source of illumination, Lila felt a surge of hope mixed with trepidation. Would it lead them to safety, or would it plunge them into a deeper chaos? The shadows surged behind them like angry waves crashing against a cliff, wanting to pull them back. Just as they reached the edge of the light, a piercing cry sounded, a mix of terror and urgency. "Stop!" The wild-haired boy shouted as he stumbled, nearly collapsing. The light pulsated, as if alive, casting eerie silhouettes that danced around them. "What's wrong?" Lila pressed, panic soaking every inch of her voice. I can't," he struggled, his breath coming in ragged puffs. "Something's pulling me back." Lila turned, her head spinning. The shadows had thickened, swirling around him like a tempest, gnashing and whispering secrets of the fallen. "Stay with us." She reached out to him, but the shadows clung on, their dark fingers grasping tighter, pulling him further away. "No. Lila." The boy's eyes widened in horror as he felt himself being drawn back into the consuming dark. Panic washed over her like a cold tide. "Grab his hand." She shouted at the millionaire's son, but before anyone could react, Lila's instinct kicked in. She lunged forward, grasping his flailing hand just as he began to fade into the shadows. "Make a chain," she yelled. The millionaire's son quickly latched onto her wrist, his grip firm yet trembling. One by one, they formed a line, holding tightly to one another, drawing on the shared energy that bound them in this nightmare. The moment stretched like a delicate thread under their collective fear. With a determined shout, they pulled as one, their combined strength overcoming the dark force. It felt like a dam bursting, the shadows writhed, hissing and fading into wisps, powerless against their united front. With one final surge, they broke through the barrier into the blinding light. Lila stumbled forward, her heart racing, as she broke free from the chain, landing amidst a stark, barren landscape. It was unlike anything she had seen before, an expanse of muted colors, strange plants that twisted into grotesque shapes, and a swirling sky overhead, promising a storm. "What is this place?" the millionaire's son whispered, his eyes wide with wonder and fear. "I don't know," Lila breathed, leaning against a cool, hard rock for support. But something about this alien world felt unsettlingly familiar. Before she could process any further, a figure stepped out of the haze, tall and cloaked in darkness, a sharp contrast to the brilliant light. As it approached, her stomach twisted. It wore a hood, its face hidden, but she could feel its eyes bore into her, judging, waiting for something. "Welcome, seekers of truth," it said, its voice a chilling melody. "You have shattered the veil. But be warned here, you will face your choices and the consequences of each path taken." "Choices? Consequences?" Lila echoed, her voice strained. "What does that even mean?" "Know that each step forward is a step deeper into your own shadows," the figure replied, its tone laced with cryptic intrigue. "Are you prepared to know yourselves?" The group recoiled slightly, the weight of those words settling around them like a heavy fog. "No." The wild-haired boy whispered, an expression of dawning realization crossing his face. "What if our darkest truths are far worse than we imagined?" Lila swallowed hard, a lump forming in her throat. They had come seeking answers, but were they ready to confront what lay ahead? She turned toward the figure, unsure, yet tempted by the promise of revelation. "What if we're not ready?" she dared to ask. "Then you will remain lost. Forever." A silence enveloped them, thick with dread. This was no longer a simple game. It was a test of their very souls, a dangerous passage leading to potential ruin. Would they dare take the next step? As the shadows loomed around them, the only thing clearer than the danger was the haunting question hanging in the air with each breath they took: what if the answers they sought could tear them apart? Lila's throat tightened, a mix of fear and urgency washing over her. The figure before them shifted slightly, as if sensing her inner turmoil. Its hood obscured its face, but Lila felt an unsettling weight in the air, like a storm brewing with every word it spoke. "Fear not the truth," it intoned, each syllable dripping with promise and menace. "Face your choices, and you may reclaim what was lost. Be it hope or despair, the answer must be sought from within." "Lost?" the millionaire's son echoed nervously. What did it mean by that? He looked at Lila, his eyes wide with a kind of primal fear. "What did we lose?" "I don't know," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But it sounds like we're about to find out." The atmosphere shifted again as the ground began to tremble slightly beneath their feet. Faint echoes of laughter floated through the air, laughter that twisted like a knife in Lila's gut. The shadows coiled tighter around them, forming dark shapes that danced and writhed as if mocking their presence in this bizarre landscape. "Do you see them?" The wild-haired boy breathed, pointing into the shadows that shifted and flickered just beyond the light. There. They're us. What? Lila squinted, struggling to focus. Shapes began to coalesce, fragmented reflections of her friend's distorted versions that wore expressions of anguish, confusion, and something darker. I can't look. He stammered, covering his eyes. Wait, Lila said, holding him back, her resolve forming. This is a part of us. We have to face it. All of it. The cloaked figure inclined its head slightly, a small nod that seemed to urge them onward. Consider this an initiation. What you see will reveal your greatest fear. Only by confronting it can you move forward. Just beyond their fading chain, shadowy forms stretched further, morphing into unspeakable visions. Lila caught a glimpse of memories, times she had felt vulnerable, trapped, angry. The others were not immune. She could see their shadows flickering through moments of pain, moments of self-doubt clinging to them like grime. Lila, I can't. The Millionaire's son shouted, suddenly breaking away from the group. He stumbled back, eyes darting with wild fear. His gaze darted between the living landscape and the ghostly echoes, torn between the world he knew and the swirling chaos. Don't let it take you. Lila cried out, feeling the pull herself. It was intoxicating, the potential to understand, it mixed with dread in equal measure, clawing at her sanity. I have to go back. He screamed, but as soon as he turned, shadows surged forward. A shrill wail pierced the air, and a shape lunged out, grasping at him with long, elongated fingers, whispering his name in a distorted voice. Stay strong. Lila shouted, rushing toward him, the ground shaking underfoot. Don't let it draw you in. In that moment, something inside her ignited. She reached deep within herself, grasping the glimmer of hope that had led them to this point. We can fight this together. She felt the others rallying behind her, grounding her with their presence, pulling together like a cohesive force against the encroaching darkness. Each second stretched, heavy with the weight of uncertainty, yet filled with a fragile line of determination. Just as the shadows seemed to loom heavy enough to crush them, Lila shouted, let go of what you fear. We're stronger than this. A gust of wind roared around them, knocking them off balance. The shadows recoiled, momentarily stunned, giving them enough time to pull together, clutching one another's hands tightly, but just as hope flickered back to life, the cloaked figure stepped forward, voice low and hypnotic. And what if your darkest truths hold the key? What if facing them means accepting who you are, flaws and all? What if it doesn't? Lila countered, the doubt creeping back. Then, the figure whispered, you will remain lost or worse. No sooner had it finished speaking than a deafening crack echoed like thunder, shaking the very ground beneath them. The landscape began to shift violently, and the shadows screamed. In unison, a cacophony of terror that rose above even their own cries. Run! Lila shouted, yanking the group forward as the blinding light began to flicker, threatening to extinguish. They took off, panic driving them as they raced towards the unknown. But far behind them, the whispers followed, echoing their fears, haunting their every step. With each stride, Lila felt the weight of the truths they still had yet to confront. Would they find the way to break free, or would they succumb to the darkness that reached for their souls? As the horizon blurred into nothingness, a chilling certainty gripped her heart. They were only beginning to uncover the answers that would define their very existence. The world twisted around them, a kaleidoscope of nightmares and regrets. Lila pushed forward, heart racing, dragging her friends along as the ground bucked beneath them. They stumbled through the distortion, shadowy tendrils grasping at their ankles, whispering truths they weren't ready to confront. Keep moving, she urged, her voice breaking through the chaos. The millionaire's son faltered again, terror painting his face. I can't do this. Yes, you can. Lila shot back, her words sharp and desperate. You have to fight. But the shadows were relentless, clawing at the very fabric of their will. With every step, memories tore at her mind, pain, loss, and the weight of unfulfilled dreams. She'd seen the flashes in her friend's eyes, an echo of her own anguish mirrored back at her. Suddenly, the cloaked figure reappeared in their path, blocking their escape. Its voice was an eerie hiss. What if you never escape? What if you remain trapped in your own cycle of fear? Lila's heart pounded. She had to drive the figure away, to banish those shadows. Leave us alone, she shouted, her voice steady. We're not afraid. But the figure only tilted its head, the darkness cloaking it, shifting like a living entity. Are you sure? What if your fears seep into reality? What if the truth is worse than the nightmare? With a flick of its wrist, the shadows peeled back, revealing a huge chasm beneath them. Their friends teetered on the edge, eyes wide with horror, the abyss calling to their deepest vulnerabilities. The Millionaire's son cried out, Lila, what do we do? Swallowing her fear, she weighed her options. This was it. This was the crux. We must confront it, she declared. Face what we buried. Together. As if provoked, chilling winds howled through the void, nearly blowing them off their feet. Lila dug her nails into the palm of her hand, feeling the solidness of her own being. We can do this. We will. She could feel their resolve strengthening, hands clutching tighter. With a deep breath, she stepped closer to the edge, peering into the abyss. The voices of the shadows were clearer now, and she recognized them each a whisper of her greatest fears and failures. I'll start, she said, her voice trembling but resolute. I was afraid I'd never make a difference, that I'd just disappear into nothing. The wind seemed to still, the shadows listening. Her confession would not sink her but set her free. One by one, her friends stepped forward, revealing their own fears. The wild-haired boy exclaimed, I'm terrified of being alone. Of losing you guys. The Millionaire's son choked out, I fear that I'm never enough. That no one sees me for who I really am. Each admission was a burst of light in the suffocating darkness, each darkness receding like fog under the sun. Lila felt the power in their words, the truth igniting strength within her. See? She shouted, her voice stronger now. Admitting it doesn't weaken us. It binds us. The cloaked figure faltered, the shadows shrieking in protest. But Lila and her friends weren't backing down. Bound by fear, it hissed, spitting the words. You'll never escape the shadows. But the group stood firm, hands locked, hearts beating in unison. We will escape. They shouted together, the collective power breaking against the shadows like waves crashing against a cliff. Then, a blinding light erupted from within them, pushing back against the darkness. The shadows writhed, shrieked, and dissolved into thin air, but as the light surrounded them, Lila felt a chilling whisper skim her ear. This was just the beginning. With a shudder, the ground shifted again, but this time it bore no fear. It felt like a tease, a promise of something darker yet to emerge, lurking just beyond the fading light. What now? The Millionaire's son asked, breathless. Whatever comes next, we face it together, Lila replied, her heart racing. But deep inside, she felt a gnawing question, what did it mean to truly confront who they were? And with that uncertainty hanging in the air, they stepped into the shimmering unknown. The air was thick with anticipation, vibrating with the energy of their collective bravery. Each step into the unknown felt like a leap into a storm, each heartbeat echoing the uncertainty of what lay ahead. As they moved, the light shifted, casting long shadows that danced like the figures they had just defeated. Lila led the way, glancing back at her friends, gauging their courage. Hope flickered in their eyes, but a deep-seated anxiety lingered beneath the surface. They had fought the darkness, but it was clear that this was no victory, it was merely the starting point of a more profound journey. What if we let it out? The wild-haired boy asked suddenly, his voice low, a tremor betraying his fear. What if the shadows come back? They won't, Lila asserted, though her confidence wore thin. We've faced them. We saw them for what they are. But self-doubt gnawed at her thoughts. Did confronting their fears truly free them, or had they only momentarily escaped, still trapped in an ever-deepening cycle of torment. Suddenly, the ground wavered and shifted into an eerie landscape, a reflection of their collective psyche. Cracked earth and twisted branches clawed up from the ground, and shadows stretched across the horizon like aching fingers reaching for them. "Look," gasped the Millionaire's son, pointing to a figure emerging from the haze. His dark clothing flared as it walked, revealing a face half-shrouded in silken black. Lila felt a chill ride up her spine. The figure radiated an authoritative energy, a stark contrast to the shadows they'd just vanquished. "This one feels different, who's there?" Lila shouted, her heart thudding in her chest. The figure stepped closer, piercing eyes locking onto hers. "You returned to the realm of fear, hoping to find liberty amidst the chaos. You fought shadows, but your true enemy awaits." "What do you mean?" Lila said, unease crawling through her. "We confronted our fears." "And yet," it replied, voice smooth like silk yet sharp like glass, "the greatest fears are often the truths we refuse to see, about ourselves. There's no escaping what you hide within." The shadows behind the figure flickered, swirling as if eager to devour the light. Lila instinctively stepped back, the ground crumbling slightly under her, yet she felt a strange pull to the figure. "Do you truly think you've measured the depths of your souls?" it continued, amused. "I can show you, but are you prepared to see?" Her friends' faces were tense, heavy with unspoken doubts, but Lila felt a surge of resolve. "We can handle whatever it is," she declared, her voice firm despite the quiver in her stomach. "Show us." In a heartbeat, the figure raised a hand, and the air distorted, revealing fragments of moments locked away. A jumble of laughter, tears, and regret cascaded around them. There stood Lila as a child, small and vulnerable, watching her parents argue. There was the wild-haired boy, seated alone at lunch, toying with his food while others laughed around him. The Millionaire's son was stridulous, shadowed by the expectations that weighed him down like boulders. Each glimpse forced them to confront painful memories, ripping apart the fabric of who they thought they were. "Stop!" Lila screamed, unable to bear the pressure of their burdens. But the figure merely smiled, an echo of truth dancing in its eyes. "This is only the beginning, your next challenge awaits. Will you be brave enough to confront it?" Before they could fully comprehend, the visions faded, leaving them breathless. Shaken, they huddled together, hearts racing, the shadows still a palpable darkness at the edges of their vision. "What did we just witness?" the wild-haired boy asked, his voice barely a whisper. "It showed us our past," Lila replied between gasps. A storm of emotions roiled within her: anger, shame, confusion. The figure stepped back, blending with the shadows, whispering softly, "The truth is a double-edged sword. Will you wield it, or will it cut you?" With that haunting question hanging in the air, the shadows flickered ominously as the ground began to tremble again. Lila grasped her friend's hands tighter, knowing they would need each other more than ever. "Let us move," she urged, a flicker of determination igniting her spirit. Yet with every step deeper into the heart of this dark reality, the gnawing uncertainty clung to her. Would they uncover the truths that could bind them even tighter, or would those truths slice through them, leaving nothing but ruins? And as the abyss yawned wide before them, the voice of the cloaked figure echoed in her mind, chilling her to the bone. "This is merely a prelude." The metallic taste of fear clung to the air as Lila and her friends pressed forward, the ominous weight of the cloaked figure's words echoing in their minds. Each step felt heavier, burdened by the shadows' taunts and their own revelations. They had battled darkness and witnessed the bleakness of their pasts. But to confront the truths within themselves, that was a different kind of battlefield. "Do you think it meant what it said?" the Millionaire's son whispered, glancing around. His bravado had faded, leaving only a flicker of vulnerability behind. "What if we can't face our realities?" "We have to try," Lila replied, her voice steadying as she recalled every ounce of courage she had summoned. "We can't let fear dictate our fate. Not anymore." But as they pushed ahead into the more dynamic and treacherous landscape, the ground beneath rippled like waves, and the shadows danced along their periphery, whispering cruel secrets. It felt as if the past was alive, reaching its tendrils into their very being, desperate to drag them down. In front of them, a doorway loomed, alight with an unnatural glow. "What's beyond that door?" the wild-haired boy asked nervously, stepping back even as the urging light seemed to call to them. Lila squinted, studying the entrance. "I don't know, but it feels like the next step. Like we need to face whatever's beyond. Last time we stepped into the dark, it nearly killed us," he countered, fear etching deeper lines into his young face. "It's not just darkness, it's us," Lila emphasized. "The doubts, failures, and the terrible truths we hide. We'll only conquer this if we confront every part of ourselves." Steeling themselves, the group moved closer to the threshold, and Lila grasped the heavy handle, her heart racing. The door creaked open, revealing a blinding light that swiftly enveloped them. As they stepped through, color and chaos erupted around them, morphing quickly into a vivid scene pulsing with emotions and intertwining collage of memories, hopes, and fears battling for supremacy in the fragmented space. "I remember this," the Millionaire's son gasped, pointing to an image of himself standing nervously before a classroom, ready to deliver a speech he had both craved and dreaded. This is where it all went wrong. As doubts twined through the very fabric of their surroundings, Lila could see her childhood self again, standing in that suffocating apartment, old arguments lingering like ghosts. "You need to stand up, Lila. You matter," she urged to that younger version. "You've always mattered." The shadows shifted, swirling to absorb her words, revealing tormented expressions that mirrored their own, each a distorted reflection of their fears and regrets. One by one, her friends began to step forward, the wild-haired boy breathing in deeply. "I'm tired of hiding behind laughs and jokes. I'm scared of never being free to be myself. I've always felt I needed to be perfect," the Millionaire's son added, voice breaking. "But no matter how hard I try, I'm still just average." Each admission came forth like a cleansing gust of wind, dispersing their shared fears in the process. Lila felt the energy shift. "This is good. We can turn this around," she cried, emboldened by the honesty of their truths. "We're not those shadows. We are stronger, better. We are not our fears." The cloaked figure manifested again, observing quietly, its gaze penetrating but no longer threatening. "Are you ready to face what lurks beneath your bravado? What more could we possibly uncover?" The wild-haired boy shot back, frustration mounting in his tone. "Your deepest connections may be woven into those shadows," the figure said, voice steady. "You are not alone, yet you fear isolation. To break free, you must embrace it." The revelation hit them, sweet and painful. They each carried a piece of one another, an unyielding bond forged in their vulnerabilities and secrets. Unified, they looked at one another. "We can do this together," Lila shouted, her heart swelling with fierce hope. "Let's tear down these illusions." As they reached out to the swirling shadows, the room quaked beneath them. What had started as a fearsome battleground transformed into a dance of light and dark. Their voices entwined, melding into an unwavering chorus of acceptance, strength, and love for one another, and suddenly, everything shifted. The shadows recoiled and burst apart, dissolving into flickers of light that scattered into the vastness beyond them. The painful memories began to replace their darkness with clarity and brightness, revealing a radiant horizon awash with colors like a sunset's embrace. "Together!" Lila cried, and they joined hands again, stepping into the expansive glow of acceptance. The world around them began to stabilize, not as an escape but as a revelation. It was their truths that bound them, not the fear of confronting them. As the last fragment of darkness disappeared, Lila exhaled deeply. They stood in a world that had changed, their pasts now heavy jewels around their necks, grateful reminders of struggle and resilience. They glanced at one another, reflections of newfound strength shining in their eyes. "Where do we go from here?" the Millionaire's son asked, a gentle smile breaking through. "Wherever we want," Lila replied, feeling the warmth of camaraderie enveloping them. They had rewritten their stories, not just through confrontation of their fears but by embracing their truth together, with hope lighting their path. They stepped confidently into this new reality, ready for the next chapter of their adventure. Their journey wasn't over, it had only just begun. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss what comes next. Smash the like button now to show your support for this journey and let the algorithm know this story matters. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. We want to hear from you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let's keep this amazing community growing stronger together.